Just to finish it off, like, where do you see product design in the next 5 years? And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Or is that like, wait, tech changes so quickly that, and they're completely two different questions, but.
That's a good question. I think it's interesting that you mentioned product design, because I was just thinking about job titles the other day, and I've held like a few of them. So I started off as a UX designer, and then I went to work as a UX architect. Then I worked as a UX designer, and now I'm a product designer. So I don't know for how much longer I'll be called a product designer. So I'm guessing the job title might change again.
Yeah.
But what I think is really interesting is I've seen a bit of a convergence of, like, I suppose, like traditionally what people would call UX and UI, and that there seems to be more of an expectation that designers can produce more polished deliverables, which I think is generally a good thing when you focus a bit more on not just the execution, but like the quality of that is just as important as the design process.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. I do think we're probably going to see it expand more into these niche spaces, like for developers, and then also maybe audiences that we haven't seen catered to as much before, like in enterprise tooling. There's so much like disruption that can happen there. If you look at Slack, for example, a lot of enterprise chat tools weren't great, and then Slack brought in something that was more consumer grade. So I think bringing in that approach to these maybe underserved audiences, there's big opportunities and interesting problems to solve too for designers.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm just thinking that the number of chat apps I've used throughout my years has probably changed as much as my job title has. But yeah, no, thank you. I mean, I've always wondered about the product design, UX design thing. I mean, it sounds like product designer is the more fashionable thing, and UX designer is on the way out. But and I think there's some people with some really strong opinions of what the difference is between them. Again, it's just I've been asked by recruiters, like, would you like to be a UX designer? It's just basically a marketing web designer job. So it's I don't know if these titles really mean anything. So I guess about the responsibility. But yeah, no. Thank you so much for like joining us. It was really appreciated your insight. Me and Ryan tried to cobble our views based on our limited experience on these specific things, but it's really great to hear. It's interesting to hear how, for a designer, it can be quite challenging to do what you think is right, but then there's always business needs, because we have to, there's always, always have to make money. But yeah, thank you so much. If folks haven't subscribed, please do to the podcast. We also are segmenting our podcast into videos. Checking on the YouTube channel. It's quite small, but it's picking up an audience. So please do join that as well. And thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Design Huddle. The opinions expressed are solely our own and do not express the views or opinions of our employer.